I thought I was recording. I wasn't recording. Okay. I am recording now. Holy shit. I'm watching this video, okay? I'm watching this video from the Paranormal Files, and Colin is going over this guy that was supposedly Ed and Lorraine Warren's darkest case ever. And it's like, I don't know, man. It sounds like something out of a fucking like Stephen King novel, honestly. I mean, it is fucked up. It's fucked up. Um and it just got to the picture of this floor. I had this floor when I was a kid in my house, or the house I grew up in. Okay? This cabinet and this floor, like the same pattern on the cabinet, not lying. So this cabinet and this floor, the bathroom, the kitchen, the laundry room, all had this same floor because it was just a piece of linoleum brought into the house and sat down in the kitchen and bathroom areas. Dark shit happened to me when I was a kid because I don't know why, but I had this floor. Okay? So, my question is, are there any other like millennials out there that like grew up with these cabinets and with this floor and had a fucked up childhood too? Like CSA fucked up? Um because like this case is bad enough where he's discussing some of the things. I'm not gonna play anything. I will leave a link in the description to the video, but I'm not gonna play anything. Um, because I'm telling this because recently I believe them to be fact, like what they did and stuff for fact. Uh, not to the level that The Conjuring puts it at, but this is like this is it's like a story, but it sounds like Hollywood. It's supposed to be based on fact, but it sounds like Hollywood because that's just how fucked up it is. And this is a person that lived in Canada. Um, he grew up in Canada, and it's like really fucked up shit that happened when he was growing up. So yeah, that's just my question though. Anyone that's a millennial grew up with these cabinets and this type of floor in their house and had a fucked up childhood. Uh, I'm just wondering because I certainly did. So I'm still in the same video. This is further in, and multiple times now, Maurice has contorted backwards, um, levitated, uh, gone on bouts of insanity, trying to hurt his family and resisting the priest. And I don't know. I don't understand why. Like, I've never understood this. Why Hollywood takes these symbols. I kind of know, like, the pentagram, but. Like, this is a pentagram upside down. But it's not, like, often that I see a video like this and I see a pentagram uh, pointed up and a pentagram pointed down in the same place. I haven't seen that much of anywhere. It's normally either like one or the other. Anyways, it's like I don't know, because this case started out with, so he grew up, his family were pagans. They lived in Canada. They did, his dad was like doing some crazy animal abuse ritual or whatever it said, because they were sodomizing the animals. And that is like how he grew up watching that, because his dad made him watch. But his dad also tried to force him to join him when he was sodomizing the animals. Like, he sodomized a pig. And it's like he grew up with that, right? And this is why I bring it up, okay? Let's say that this person started out, you know, had, I don't know. It feels like an invasion more than like, because the story just starts off fucking wild, right? Like, literally at the beginning of the story, it's how he watched his dad sodomize barnyard animals, right? And it's placed on the audience that he watched his father do this because of pagan rituals, right? Okay. Then it turns to he ran for Christianity like as soon as he could. I'm saying this right now because I'm in the middle of reading The Devil in Massachusetts. And it's like, it has a similar tone to it. A very similar tone. To like what is told that's going on, and it is fucking insane. Like, it sounds like Hollywood. So I'm like, I'm not saying that the Salem witch trials did not happen. They absolutely happened. That's not Hollywood. That is reality. It's not fiction. It's history. It absolutely happened. But it sounds like it sounds very, very, very fake. Um, in this story because of all of the just craziness of it. I mean, all of the craziness of it. And you know what, though? Reality is stranger than fiction. It's true. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say, Colin's full of shit and none of this ever happened. He's just, amping up stuff because it got Ed and Lorraine Warren in it and he wants views and it's almost Halloween. Let me tell you, it is a fucking. I've never heard a Halloween story like this. I mean, never. I mean, it is horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible. And I also watched the Call Me Chris docu series that she does on like serial killers and um uh people that are grew up in like abuse or people that grew up abusing others and I'm sorry, I'm trying to get through this as like fast as I can. And it's like I've never heard of something this bad happening to someone because it's almost like we have to we have to demonize the pagans as much as we can so uh you know paganism bad and Christianity good. That's that's what watching this feels like because pagans have survived a very long time. So they were into if there are a lot of pagans that are were into sodomizing animals, I don't think there would be many pagans left because that's like abuse. That did happen though. I'm not saying that like that didn't happen because people know about bestiality for a reason because it happened. Um, but I mean, it's like there's so many things that are like just demonizes it completely. It really does just sound like something that was made up because someone didn't like that someone's family was a pagan or something. So if this really did happen, and this isn't fake and it's being pointed out as it's really bad because as many times as he has contorted himself and had so many crazy things happening, which is another thing. Like, how much trauma does that put on a like you you you're I I don't even like begin to know. You're so traumatized from everything that happens around you that you're absent for most of your um adulthood because you go into fits of violent demonic rages whenever there's a Bible around. Like literally it talks about that constantly and the only thing I can like go back to, right, is just saying that it just sounds really made up. But reality is stranger than fiction, so maybe something like this did happen at some point. Um, but it's so it goes so deep into detail, and it's so fucked up. It is so fucked up. All the shit that this guy went through as a child and then like absent. So far, for most of his adulthood, because he's trying to harm his wife. He's trying to, the you know, uh, when he's quote unquote himself, he's trying to think of ways to like protect his family against him harming them because of how frequent demonic possession like will come out when he's around his family. It's so fucked up. And it's like it's like holy shit, man. If this is how fucked up it is to be around your wife and kids and you're in Christianity and this happens around Christianity, why are you still in Christianity? Holy shit. That's like one of the things that I will never understand or get about some of the cases that happen. And it's like wild because everything that happens to this person is just another roll downhill, and they can't stop it. They have lost all control of whatever control they had of their body, and their momentum continues to gain speed as it's rolling downhill. And the only options that continuously go on are call a priest, try this, call a priest, try that, call a priest, try this, call a priest, try that, call a priest, try this, and like every bout that Christianity is there, he's abusing his family. And that's why, honestly, that's why it sounds like made up to me. But that's the way that I see it. Because from the start, it was like a complete just bash on paganism. Because that was brought up, not that his father was mentally ill or whatever, and fucked all the animals on the farm. It's that he was trying to do something specific to one animal to make some pagan sacrifices to ward off famine, and hunger, and death on crops to prevent a good harvest. And it's like, that's fucking insane. That is fucking insane. I mean, it's literally just something that I just really do feel like is just there to like demonize it and to throw it in the bat with being a Satanist. And it's crazy because, and also, this is the first time. It's not the first time. It's not the first time. I've seen this one time before, where an image, it wasn't this image, it was another image, I think, that had the upside down pentagram and the pentagram pointing upright, or, well, an upright pentagram showing on like the same thing. And also, because this book comes up during a demonic possession scene, or as a demonic possession scene is being described. One of the many. I mean, literally, this guy's spine has been contorted so many times now. His back. Like, I don't know how the guy is walking upright still. Um, there's also a cross here. Upright cross, upside down cross. Um, that's something else that's typically used to for talk about demonic stuff. And then there's this weird thing over here that looks like it could be a foreign language. Which is another thing that this guy does too, is he will have bouts of speaking in foreign tongues, especially when there's a Bible present. Um, so that's why I said it sounds very like Hollywood polished, and it says too scary for The Conjuring because of the Conjuring movies from Ed and Lorraine Warren, which is why I'm wondering if this wasn't just part of a Conjuring movie taken, like something that they might have wanted to add in there uh, in the beginning. And they decided to maybe chuck it or something. I don't know. It sounds really fake, though, and I'm not talking about it's fake, but it sounds fake because it has demonic possession in it, and there has to be a Christian priest there and stuff like that. Like, I'm not like hating on Christianity. I'm just saying that everything that bad that is happening to this guy is always when there is a priest around him or there's a Bible or something, and it's like this guy is so traumatized that he cannot even uh, have a moment of his life where he is present. He is always absent. Um, and that's not to say that it happened because he's a bad person. Uh, but being in a bad environment can fuck you up. You don't have to be a bad person to be fucked up or to grow up in a bad environment, and uh, it doesn't really matter like what religion you grow up in. You can still grow up in a bad environment, and uh, that's open. I mean, that's just luck, honestly. So I'm gonna continue to listen to this and just see like how much more, how many more scenes that it continues to be. This person was possessed. They contorted. They were speaking in tongues, and I mean, this is something that you might hear happen like once or something, every now and then throughout history. This happened to this guy so many fucking times. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and try and finish it. I had to unmute. Okay, finally. Uh, so before it was just police, and it was um priest and his family, and all these crazy things happening to him. He is now in his 70s. It's still happening to him. Like, insane, crazy shit still happening to him. Uh, the Warrens want to document what's going on in a professional way. Besides recording audio, or, well, I guess recording more audio or recording from notes or whatever of the happenings. They wanted a professional institution, professional medical institution, to document it. So he was admitted into a psych ward, and it was documented, which means it's real. But it's like he survived all of it so far. So survived having his body taken over by whatever malevolent entity. Could have been he could have been fighting at the time. Still haven't heard if anything is like, you know, this is this way because he's mentally ill. No. They said he was a very nice man, and he enjoyed you know, he was like calm. Doctors didn't find anything medically like wrong with him, and it was only when these possessions came about from this malevolent entity did he have these cases, and it was proven by multiple institutions now. So first it was the church, then it was the police because of the domestic violence. Then it was documented on film, and then it was documented medically that crazy shit happens to this dude and no one fucking knows why. I'm gonna stop at that. I might talk about this more. I'm gonna go finish listening to the rest of it. I just have to pause here because I just wanted to state that, because for the first time in this story so far, it's gotten to, this case has been documented by professional institutions, physically and mentally, professional medical institutions. And this case has now been documented that this shit happened. And it's real. And he still has not like succumbed to all the trauma that happened to him when he's, you know, not in control of himself. And what I mean by that is, like, people can get really hurt by that shit. And it's, you know, if it happens, it happens. But it's never good. But for it to happen like so many fucking times, right? And the guy is able to like reach 70 years old, and he's not, you know, he hasn't killed anyone in his family, because that was another thing that was brought up way earlier in the story, was that he would get possessed and start talking about harming his family, right? And he would just start like having these convulsions, and then when they got help for him because he was trying to he was starting to threaten to harm his family and stuff. So it's huge that it's gotten to this point, and it's been documented that uh, this guy had random ass. Uh, well, I guess it's not really random because it always seems to happen when uh, like there's a Bible or a priest is trying to do something to him. It really like spikes it, and it makes that entity really angry, and it's like, okay, well, this man hasn't died from injuries or have to go to jail because he killed someone from this, because I mean, there's really bad cases of that happening. uh I'm gonna go finish watching this. One other thing I did want to talk about, though, just not thought about it, was uh, I wanted to talk about that as humans, right? We don't know the full end result of fucking an animal. Obviously, nothing physical happens as a result from it, as in, it doesn't add anything else to life uh, from the direct action of it. Um, so I've never read anything, whether it was paganism or not, involved in it. If some Because some people do you like to hone in on that from like paganism. Uh, Paganism involves bestiality. No, it doesn't, and it does have to for things to be good for you. Um, so I'm. It's like just gonna be interesting. I'm gonna say how for humanity, I guess, because bestiality has been part of humanity um, for thousands of years. So, because it's been part of humanity, uh, I don't know. There's no like, what's the end result of, and I mean like the true end result, whether done for good or for bad, of a person fucking an animal. Is it uh is it having is it having some form of severe abuse on an offspring down the line, many generations, where like it's so bad that they don't recount their full life because they're absent from it, because that's how bad it like is to do. Or was fucking like the fucking part in bestiality meant to be like, I don't know, you can you can carry on generations with your animal friend until you abuse it. Um, because like the act is just so heinous that once it happens, there's nothing left for nature to do than just delete that portion of itself. Because at some point, humans thought that they were better than everything else to the point where they could literally fuck it and have no consequence of it. Is it like that ignorance built into humanity for all of its accomplishments, and then I don't know. uh then after the act is done, it's like, well, you abused nature, so now you cannot exist. um that's something that I kind of think happens as a result of that, because you, I don't know, like, you can look at it that way as it being like, if you kill me and you eat me, uh you know, not me, but you know, the animal, saying to the person, you can kill me and you can eat me, you can wear me, you can have me um put, you know, uh help you sow your seed in the ground, and um you can have me be your friend, right? And the animal is your friend because the animal helps you live, right? But uh and you can stay friends with the animal even if you still kill them, because they survive because they know that they have to be there for a predator that's much better than them at surviving. And saying no to an opportunity like that would be absolutely fucking stupid. Because this cements our existence in this reality. Because a predator better than we are needs us. Um, but if you fuck us, you're fucked. Um, because of how horrible it really is to do that. Um, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in natural selection. Like, hey, did an did an animal manage to convince you to fuck it? well, then you probably shouldn't be here because you just lost. Um, because nothing comes from that, you know, like nothing really comes from that. Um, and the more cases that I read of bestiality, whether it be in a Christian sense or in a pagan sense, it doesn't end good for either one of them. Because it's just common knowledge that species share across one another in knowing not to uh, fuck each other. That's, that's why I think that happens, because it's natural selection. Like, hey, you see this guy doing this ridiculous thing right here? Yeah, this means that he can't be here. Um, so, like, that being said, like, is that why with this particular person, even though I don't think he, like, got in on it, like his dad did with the animal, but it was definitely there for it to like be like, yeah, just keep on doing this and we're gonna end your whole fucking line. Um, because his that's what is stated they would do for a ritual for good harvest, and because a good harvest is a future that you can buy food and um and also, if you're fucking your animals, you probably shouldn't be a farmer, you know. um that's another thing where it's like, I don't know, it's like, why is that also there? Where it was meant at some point in reality that it became established that uh you need to fuck an animal to prosper better in the future. And this is like the end result of it. A horrible life for your ancestors, even if they didn't take part in it, because they were related to you. That's what I'm getting out of this story so far. I just wanted to say that because them saying that this has been documented back then in a mental institution is huge for proof that that is where bestiality leads to. Um anyways, I just wanted to like share that thought. I'm back. I still have my horrible cough from smoking hemp, and I tested for COVID-19 and I don't have it. So I wanted to talk more about the video I talked about a couple nights ago. just to like add just to add uh on to what I already said a few nights ago, because I did finish watching the video, and the amount that that man goes through to live a life is insane. Um, he doesn't really ever get better. It just kind of goes away at like the end, but he's already super old, so it's been a constant throughout his whole life that this is how he treats his children and family because of a supposed possession. Um, Not saying that it wasn't real, just saying because I feel like if you really do love people and you really want them to be safe, then you know you really cared about them. Uh, you wouldn't let something let you or control you, so you act like that. Um, it's like really sad because the guy led a life of a life of uh fits of anger and regretful decisions that did not help his case around others in his community until very late in his life, when it's documented by physicians and psychiatrists that there's nothing physically or mentally wrong with him. And it's 100% blamed on possession by evil entities that this man had no control over stopping, which is something that I don't really believe. Um, Not because I don't believe that powerful negative entities can control humans. I absolutely believe that that is a possibility that they possess in the moment, and but not something that they can retain on someone for extended periods of time, uh on multiple occasions, you know. But this is also a case where his family lineage is about also fucking animals. And for supposed pagan rituals, which I also don't believe. Maybe these people were pagan. maybe they made blood sacrifices of their barnyard animals. It's their animals to do with if they wanted to do that. But fucking the animals is not okay. Um, and I think that that makes it a special case for repercussions further down the generation. So possibly because he didn't want to take part in animal fucking. Uh, he was punished by his lineage um, for not doing what they did and continuing the line. Um, that is one aspect I get out of it. Because whether something is good to do or not good to do, if it's been done in a repetition kind of way throughout generations, especially in a family, they're going to be able to see before you come along that, hey, this stopped here. Let's, tell this fuck that this is where he comes from. If he doesn't do this, he's going to be in big trouble and he's going to regret it during his life. Um, I believe that that's a thing. That can happen uh, in a multi generational family tradition kind of way. If all of them were doing it. Because the premise of it is he grew up on a farm, right? Where he um, experienced very traumatic events and experienced a lot of abuse and witnessed as a child a lot of wrongdoing, which is very painful to have to witness as a child because of the effect that it has as an adult because it doesn't go away. Because you grew up as a child, like children soak up information, they soak up their surroundings and what they see. It really does affect them down the line. Um, so he had two traumas to deal with, living through that, and also not following his family lineage, which was no doubt an extremely hard thing to do. But he saw that he would, it's not right to do that, so he didn't do it. Um, from what I know, he didn't do it. I'm still gonna try and like research this some more because it's not exactly the same as the devil in Massachusetts. Um, because one is being one is being um controlled from an outside force, which is the devil of Massachusetts, because those, like, the girls were supposed to be of, uh, I guess they were kind of pagans in a way because they were poor. And Christians were, especially like Puritans, were considered to be of royalty and have a status in the society and controlled a lot of what went on in the local government. Um, so I guess it's like in a way a lot different with this guy from Canada's case, because he was from the source, um and he was raised in the source of what is claimed to have gone on. But that being said, I think it's like very strange that, I don't know, very strange that these things were said, but it's always like no one ever tried anything really different with him. It was always just stay in Christianity, um, and all these bad things happen around that source. That it claims it's trying to like prevent against. Um, and I kind of feel like that it's some of the details may have been made up during the time that the story was, unfolding. Um, because it is a lot of contorting. I mean, it is a lot of contorting. And it's a lot because, I mean, even like back in the early 1900s, if you were seen like beating women or wanting to hurt children, especially in public, you were dealt with pretty fast, because that's not something that people really put up with in public. I'm sure it happened a lot in private back then for the era that it was in, but in public, everyone in public, especially having to go to church and stuff, is expected to have a good reputation, when it comes to like the church and stuff. And this man had the exact opposite of that and wanted to continue to do harm to his family. But when these moments arose, it's covered as the evil entity made him do it. So, the devil made me do it, and that's my explanation for it, and that's why I can continuously abuse my family and get away with it. And I think it's like such an overused, washed up excuse. And I wish that for stories like these, because a lot of Christianity is based around abuse, I feel like, so this person's father was alleged to have committed bestiality, which is blasphemy and a sin against the church. But even so, like, I feel like that would be equally so for some other pagans, because it's still animal abuse. And even if you're going to do animal sacrifice to appease gods and have a good crop that year, you can sacrifice an animal without abusing it. And, have good success in a ritual. But if this was done in like a way where it says that these animals were physically abused for good crops, and if good crops didn't come, then they were abused more and more and more, it just sounds like someone with a lot of issues, and a lot of things going on in their life that they don't know how to deal with because they were probably abused in the past. Um, so I don't agree with uh threatening behavior towards uh the women and children in his family because uh he claimed to love them but continued to do that and found a which is something that a lot of millennials find in boomers, um, is that boomers love to be able to chuck off abuse or bad habits in dealings with others on, well, I was raised that way, so I can't help it. Or this is a, you know, this is something that the devil made me do it, so I couldn't help it. Or an evil spirit made me do it, so I couldn't help it. But you then claim to go on and continue to love them. I guess there was some parts in the story where he's like staying away from his family and his family wants him away from them because they see how dangerous that he is to them because of his random violent fits of anger and uh out uh his violent fits of like uh blasphemy against the church, I guess is what they would classify it as. But it still doesn't make sense that it's something that has to happen uh, because there's an evil spirit and nobody knows how to stop it. Um, People that really love their family, I think, whether they come from having from an abusive household or they come from a household that was based on, you know, they grew up in like a normal childhood, those people still know how to do not do something again because the results of it are really bad. Um, and I don't know. This guy was acquitted on all counts of misleading his or wanting to be misleading and abusive towards his family because a priest said that the devil did it. And it's like, that's a lot of time lost to children for such an easy way of getting out of, hey, I've been a horrible person to these children. Um, and I feel like it's like written in a really narcissistic way towards the person that it's happening to. Because there seems like at every corner a scapegoat for him. Uh, it's okay that he flipped the table and screamed at the kids and his wife and beat his wife in front of the children and because the police came in and police said, well, he wasn't in that state when we got there, and then later on the police got to watch him change instantly. It's like, well, we can't say that he's actively trying to harm his family now because we watched him change instantly. And there's no, I don't know, I don't really feel like that there's any type of um, real repercussions for the guy. And it's really sad that society was actively like that back then and actually favored abusers more than the abused. because of the amount of control that they were able to get out of the abused. And that was very convenient for a church of any kind to be able to get a lot of control out of their members and have an easy scapegoat for the members to say, it's okay because the devil made me do it. I just don't really like agree with that. Not that not that these horrible events don't happen to people. I do believe that they happen to people and that people are affected by outside entities, and that's worth the empathy given towards those people. Um because it's really hard to control what goes on in your life if you grew up and lived in a crazy background. But at the same time, it's like there's a way to go about it where you're actively trying to improve your situation around you so you can give a better life to the people that you love, in a situation where you're just constantly spiraling and tearing down the people around you and not taking true responsibility for the real damage that's been going on. That's the part of Christianity that I dislike the most. And I see it everywhere because it's like the exact opposite of love towards to me. Um, but I don't know. That's all I kind of wanted to say. I might like look up something about this guy because I heard this guy mention from a Jordan Peterson video about that crazy event because Canada had a lot of pagans in it because part of it was for French, and then but a lot of it was just natives living in Canada. So um, having native tribes and having a lot of people in like the back country of Canada that hadn't really been found by like Christianity yet to uh, have like cities with Christian churches in it and stuff built around them, and only having like little settlements to go off of even back in like the early 1800s or 1900s. Like I can understand how there can be outside crazy shit happening when people are disconnected from society, and then society stumbles upon a farm because a family that was once part of a bigger settlement, it's diminished down to this, so it's just them left on the farm. And if they don't have what they need in the moment, they are going to die from starvation. So people get real fucking desperate. And there's that side of the story with it too. How desperate, how desperation uh, kills off the family is another thing to look at also. So this is some of the shit he went through. This is from the medium.com or medium.com. And who's this by? Who wrote this? Ragnarr Rasmusson. I think that's how you say the author's name. So it says signs of possession. He manifested through a series of disturbing events that terrified his family and friends. He would sometimes lose complete control of his body, slipping into trances where he would speak in tongues and display inhuman strength. One of the most terrifying phenomena was the appearance of mysterious wounds on his body, including marks that seemed to spell out blasphemous words and symbols. Witnesses also reported seeing Maurice's eyes change dramatically, often appearing as if they were bleeding or turning completely black. These episodes were accompanied by a foul odor that permeated the room, common sign in cases of demonic activity. Objects around him would move on their own, and religious items seemed to react violently in his presence. Maurice himself would later describe feeling as though he was being taken control of by an external force, one that was malevolent and powerful, trying to take over his mind and soul. That's something that I have trouble believing because of soul. So your soul is essence being yourself in your body. In the simplest words I can describe it. What I believe a soul to be is uh, I am in my body, and my body is how I interact with the outside world. Um, but I'm a spirit in a vessel. So take over his mind and soul to me means you let this force come in to try and replace you in your body. And it sounds like, I mean, I'm not saying that spirits don't try to do that because there's evidence that they do, but it's just like, I feel like you can only do that if they can only do that if you let them and you give them permission to do so. And I don't get this thought from being raised in Christianity. I get this thought from uh, just living in the hell that I did and having known that outside persons wanted to harm me and take away what I had when I used to be in Christianity, um, and then call it righteous, just says to me that, you know, that was something negative trying to come in, but I didn't want to let it. Um, and in this case, like him acting like that with his around his family, and also like religious objects becoming violent in his presence. Um, so poltergeist activity in his presence. It's just like the way that it's worded, man. It's like so much Hollywood tied into the story, I feel like. And I think this is one of the movies the nun was, or sorry, one of the stories the nun was based off of. And the nun was not very well liked. Um, as a movie in itself. I watched it. I didn't like it that much. I didn't think it was scary or, you know, I just thought it was a lot of uh I don't know, just cheap horror. Um and I saw why a lot of people didn't like that movie. But this is, some of the scenes in it, the signs of possessions that they show, some of it is based off of this information. And it's like, it just feels so fake. I'm not saying that entities cannot interact with objects. I believe that they can and have, in order to instill fear in people, because most of the time negative entities grow on an individual off the fear that they can produce from scaring an individual, and therefore making it more powerful in that individual's life. So during the investigation, the Warrens observed several classic signs: demonic possession, and Maurice claimed to see a dark entity clinging to Maurice's soul. She described the presence as a powerful demonic force that determined to break Maurice's spirit. Um, this is another thing that I have problems like reading when I'm reading about, or I have problems accepting when reading about demonic possession and how dark, or sorry, possession from malevolent spirits, I'm going to say. Because like a dark entity sees a dark entity clinging to Maurice's soul. If there's anything around you in your immediate area, I don't care what plane you're in, you always have the choice to move away from it. And you always have a choice to say no to it. Um so I don't get why it says clinging. Because I don't understand how it gets to that point. I understand being messed with, um, because the entity is in the process of trying to scare you so it can build control in your life and use to feed off of you. I understand that process, but it's the process of letting it happen that I don't really understand. Documented physical changes. So they documented physical changes in Maurice. Nothing his unnatural strength. The distortions of his facial features during his episodes in the demonic, symbols that appeared on his skin seemingly without cause. I believe that they can touch you and scratch you, and cause irritation to the skin. Um, Up until the point you tell them to fuck off, and then I think that that's because you made your intentions clear that you want nothing to do with them at that point. That's what I don't understand. I don't understand not having the ability to tell someone to fuck off. The Warrens believed that Maurice had unknowingly invited the demonic force into his life, possibly as a result of his traumatic childhood and experiences with occult practices. That's another thing I have issues with the story is that the entity is said as a demonic force and that it was invited in. If you don't know something, right, and it's in your home, how did you invite it in? You can't invite something in that you don't know about. It's like the story of, like, I don't know, vampires going to go and visit a guy or a family or whatever, right? But the vampire has the one rule: you cannot enter a house without being invited first, or they'll die. Um, so the vampire is literally at the mercy of the person of the house, whether or not they can invite it in, because that person can just say no, and then the vampire can't hurt them while they're inside of their house because they never got in. That's what I don't understand, how they can use the word unknowingly and invite it in the same thing, right? Like, for instance, if I have a list of people that I want to contact and invite to go do something, uh, whatever, and I'm like, you know, I contact them, but I don't contact anyone else, uh, and other people show up and be like, hey, where the fuck did these people come from? Because I didn't invite them. Um, it's the same way. It's like the same thing. I don't understand how these two words, and I always see it a lot in Christianity, and it's like it has such a fear around it because you're led to believe that you've done something that is wrong, and you didn't know that it was wrong, but you didn't do anything wrong, right? Because you didn't invite anything in. It intruded. And you can always tell intruders to go away, to fuck off. Um, and like, it's just like not, I just don't see it in the story where this person did that. Um, and then you know, like the events that happened in his childhood, when it goes into detail, it's very, very messed up. But then it also says experiences with occult practices. I think this has to do with, what is it? The intention a person has with the ritual they're trying to perform. Uh, Regardless of what it is. Um, Not so much that the person knew about the occult or knew how the rituals were done, but the environment the rituals were done in, and maybe the person that saw the rituals did not uh, participate in them, or were not willing to participate in them but had to anyway. Because I still think that there's room for to like get out of the way of something negative if you're being forced to participate in something that you don't want to do. You can still just say no. Um, and then you don't have to do it. But that's just, maybe he didn't have the luxury of doing that in his childhood. I don't know. I just remember reading some of the things that he saw and that went on, that would make a very dramatic traumatic experience for anyone. whether they were a child or not. But it's just like stuff like this. I just don't like it because it's like it's like be afraid of what we tell you to be afraid of, and these things are that because we say that they are with no like proof of this. No proof to like demonize something, just demonize it because we say that it's bad and that this is bad when uh there's a lot of shit that happens where this is confused with something else and it's called abuse. Um the exorcism, so this goes about into the exorcism about it that during the ritual he had violent reactions, speaking in guttural voices, so like probably like dark raspy or low raspy hissing voices, and attacking those around him with superhuman strength. This is another thing that I don't understand. Right. So, if you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. If you're in a pissed off mood, you're in a pissed off mood. But you got to go into a lot of effort, right? To have this happen. So, how is it that it's now gotten to the point where, because everyone has superhuman strength, humans have superhuman strength, whether they use it or not, if they're physically capable of lifting something that's heavy, more than likely they have way more strength than what they can normally lift if they think is heavy because of emergency situations, right? But it's so hard to put yourself in that state where this is available anytime an entity says, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go smash some faces in, and you just have superhuman strength. Like, I how much control did you give this fucker? Right? So it's gone way past unknowingly invited, which is not even a fucking thing. You do not unknowingly invite someone, right? Because like I said, if, for instance, you go up and you invite one person and there's their friend standing behind them, you did not invite their friend because their friend is behind them. You invited the one person and that's it. Now, their friend can ask, or their friend can tag along and just assume that they were invited. But that doesn't make them invited because you only invited one person. Just scenario, situation. So this tells that this person doesn't really seem like they're wanting to resist what's happening around them. And they're just, oh, I don't know what to do. But I still want to claim that I love these people that I try to violently kill with at the will of another spirit, my superhuman strength. It doesn't make sense that this happened on a regular occasion, because it says that this happened during the exorcisms, but also during the possessions. And I'm going to go ahead and guess that the possessions didn't happen during the exorcisms all the time, because he went through multiple stages of being quote unquote possessed and acting this way without there being an exorcism, but a priest was called in to do something to weaken the spirit responsible for doing all of this. The aftermath and tragic end. I'm sure this person still has family, like their relatives are still alive. And I don't mean any disrespect to them when I'm talking about this man, but at the same time, it's like, I just feel like that if you really cared about the people around you, you would do everything you could to make sure that they're not the ones being hurt, especially by you. Um, According to Warrens, the exorcism ended with Maurice temporarily free from the entity, though they warned that demonic attachments like his often remain dormant rather than disappearing completely. So this has now become a hidden personality that could just all of a sudden, for whatever reason, pop up, which would mean that the people around him probably had PTSD from these bouts, because they never knew when one was gonna pop up, and that's terrifying to have to live around. It says witnesses describe this scene as a battle between forces of good and evil. See, this is like more shit that I don't agree with. Nothing is this black and white. Nobody is this black and white. No, I don't care. A person is not this black and white. And I've never believed in that things are as simple as black and white, because black and white is what I read when I read good and evil, because it's either one or the other, and I just don't really agree with that type of thinking. Like, nothing is as simple as one or the other, in terms of like good and evil. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are good things out there and there are evil things out there, but it's like between forces of good and evil, like they were just trying to make a guy snap out of whatever state he went into. Convulsions as the priest commanded the entity to leave. At one point, levitated off the ground. This is like something else that I noticed during this story is, who was I think this was also a Conjuring movie of the like schoolgirl who was levitating off the ground, and like going into fits of rage and stuff like that. I think that was another like Conjuring movie that I had watched in the past, but this one didn't have the tone of not being believed. In this story, it's like brought out that every person that examines this man believes that nothing is actually wrong with him. That's the thinking in this man's case, that nothing is his fault, nothing is wrong with him, but he's abusing these people that he claims to love. That's my issue with it, because it's not a child doing it. It's a full grown adult around children doing the harming, and that's never okay. And that's why it's like so hard for me to believe that he had no control over the situation whatsoever, as it's being seen like played out, as the author goes on to describe the events that unfolded uh, during possessions and during exorcisms. And possessions can happen during exorcisms. I think I've heard it. Like, what is it? During an exorcism, there's a huge chance for a possession because you're basically conjuring up the entity. But there doesn't have to be an exorcism for there to be a possession, or something like that. Is how I've like heard it before. Um, Though the exorcism seemed to provide Maurice with some relief, his life continued to spiral downward in the years that followed. In 1992, Maurice's life took a tragic turn when he suffered a violent breakdown. He shot and wounded his wife, Nancy, before taking his own life. This shocking end to Maurice's story left many questioning the true extent of his possessions and whether the demonic forces had ever truly been expelled. So, I will say that harming another person and then killing yourself is about the lowest that. Oh, not the lowest, but it's pretty low. There are worse things I think a person can do than that, but why harm someone else when your end goal is just to make sure you harm yourself as much as you can? That's what I get from reading stuff like that. That he never truly loved these people because it ended in him uh, attacking one of them, and then, like, I guess the best thing he could do for them is remove himself from their life. And I mean, I'm not saying he had to take his own life in order to do that, but he could have went like down so many other avenues and having to have it end with I'm gonna try and kill my wife, and uh whether I fail or succeed, I know how it's gonna end because I'm like, this is something that's like planned out, obviously. um it's kind of weird that it ends on also many left many questioning the true extent of his possession and whether the demonic forces had ever truly been expelled. This is something else that I feel like is weird, and it's written from the standpoint of just believe whatever Christianity says, because uh it doesn't mention him ever having the possibility of being mentally ill. It only mentions demonic forces, outside entities. So did this person like have it this way because they never accepted that it was them causing the harm in their own life? Or is it this way because an outside entity found this person important enough to want to do all these things to you? This is one reason I have a lot of issues believing possession cases, because what the fuck makes you so important that some outside entity that's a multi-dimensional being, uh because I think that entities, whether they're positive or negative or neither, neutral, um what makes a person so important, unless they're like the leader of a country or the leader of many people, that, if they're not that, then what makes them so important that some outside force would want to go and say, uh we got to make sure we fuck this guy up no matter what, because we can never let him be happy. I don't understand why something would be out there that would give a fuck about someone so much as to make sure that their life is like that. Um, in a negative entity possession kind of way. I just don't see it. And I never really have when it came to like possession. It's like, how much is it that are you actually using of your willpower to say no to this thing? Or is it just, well, I'm not going to say no because I don't know what I'm doing. So I guess I got to act this way until a priest comes and then act worse and then stop. I don't understand the logic in it. From a having an entity, a multidimensional being, think that you're so important that it has to control every aspect of your life in this way. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. Because there's so much other better things to be doing than worrying about what one guy does. Um, let's see. Legacy and influence. His story has become a staple in discussion about possessions and other effectiveness of exorcism. His case was featured prominently in paranormal circles and even inspired characters in films like the Conjuring series. The chilling details of his possession, coupled with the tragic end of his life, make Maurice's case one of the most tragic and terrifying of the annals of paranormal history. And that's true, because this is right up there with, it's not the same way as the devil in Massachusetts, so it's not unfolding the same way and the same things aren't going on, but in the form of a tragic, sad ass story, this is right up there with it. um in that kind of way. Because like the way that this article is written is very lighthearted about the things that happened. It doesn't go into the gruesome details of his childhood and the things that he had to experience or the things that he made others around him experience during these possessions. It just gives you uh it just gives you things that happen during them, but it doesn't go into detail about how like actually really bad that it was. Like, what was one of the things in the poltergeist activity was, in this case, was that a two frying pans together were thrown. One of them was just a metal frying pan and the other one was an iron skillet. They were thrown together at someone's head. I don't remember if it was his or another person that happened to be around him in the room, and it was thrown with such a velocity and force that it went inside of the wall, and like the wall wasn't a wall like nowadays. That's something else too. These houses that were built back then were completely different from how they're built now, and the fact that there's a lot of fucking drywall in houses now, and that wasn't a thing back then. It was just wood. So the way that this was told was that it was thrown with such a force that it went and like got embedded and actually bent, because it was thrown with such strength at a wooden wall. um and that makes it to where, okay, so something physical outside of possessions happened. Outside of Maurice actually, I'm going to say it like this, outside from the happenings that they said for the possessions that Maurice went through, this was something that happened outside. He had nothing to do with this. He was around, well, I shouldn't say he had nothing to do with it. He was around when it happened, but he had no physical play in it. He didn't pick up the frying pans and throw them. something else did and threw them quite hard with the intent to kill somebody because it was aiming for their head, I believe, but it just happened to miss. Um, so, uh, that's not one of the like stories with like gruesome detail though. Um, so the Warrens documented Maurice's case in their files using it as an example of dangers dealing with malevolent entities. To this day, paranormal investigators and demonologists reference Maurice's story as a cautionary tale of what can happen when dark forces of the supernatural are not taken seriously. But that's the thing that I also don't understand, because according to everything that happened, they were taken seriously. Seriously enough to where the police, uh, the doctors, the psychiatrists, and the spiritist or the occult believed it alongside Christianity, or from Christianity's viewpoint, believed it, that these things happen. So that's another thing I don't understand, is how is it not taken seriously? Because time and time again, you read throughout the story, or you hear throughout the story, that Maurice was being tested to see if these were true possessions or he was acting. So his character was always up to bat in every single one of these situations, and I do feel like it had a grand effect on his character from the abusive nature that came with being around him. But I don't think it's from that. It's from dark forces not being taken seriously. I think it's like not taking responsibility, like a guy not taking responsibility for things that he did, or always wanted to take responsibility for things that he did, to others around him, is kind of how I see it. I'm not saying that these things didn't happen to him. I'm just saying that, I don't know. I feel like at some point, it's just, how do you just give yourself up to another entity and say, because to me, that's also having a hand in letting it happen, to just say, okay, well, this entity is here now. I can't do anything, and it can use my body however it wants, basically, is what he was telling it this whole time, because it never showed says any signs of him actually putting up a fight or like resisting this entity. It's just, oh, these things happened. So I don't think that is supernatural not being taken seriously. I think it's that, mental health not being taken seriously, honestly. I really do think that, in this case, and a lot of other cases that come from Christianity, because another thing that older generation Christians hated was the chance of being called insane. And people that were regarded as insane or having mental issues back in this time period were treated like trash and had lived horrible lives, because of the stigma placed on them by society for having these mental ailments. So that's where I kind of feel like that this story goes, is not like, it's not taken seriously because of how many times it's documented. How many times does something have to be documented before it's taken seriously? Because all throughout, it's not just it happened one time. This happened multiple times, um, and multiple responses from authorities had to be, carried out because it happened so many times and because it endangered people around him. Um, so I just think it's a case of mental health not being taken seriously and people trying to say that religion is more important than a person's mental health. That's like a huge one that I think Christianity, or well, not just Christianity, but a lot of like religions that in past generations like to force people to do things against their will, or you're gonna be judged by God and set to damnation, force people out of fear to do things, uh, is a horrible way to live and a apps just awesome way to destroy your mental health or the mental health of the people around you that you claim to love. The haunting reality of possession. So remains one of the most controversial and debated cases of possession. Skeptics argue. I'm just saying possession because I don't really believe in. I don't believe in evil entities targeting people. I believe in people using evil entities to target people. That's something that I believe. Because then the entity really does have a reason to hone in on a person and make their life hell. If it's, had some kind of bribe from another person. So skeptics argue that his experiences were the result of psychological disorders. That's what I think. While believers see his story as undeniable proof of the existence of dark forces, whatever the truth may be, the life of Maurice Theriault serves as a chilling reminder that some battles are fought not with flesh and blood, but with unseen forces. And that's another thing that I'm like disagreeing with, because just because you can't see your brain doesn't mean it's not there. Like, just because you can't see your brain doesn't mean that your brain is an unseen force. It's not. Your brain is there just because you can't see it. It's just covered up. And that's another thing. It's like, I don't know. It's not that I don't like the story in a creepy way. The story is very creepy. It's one of the creepiest stories I have ever heard of. In detail. But it's just like I said, it's a lot of Hollywood baked into the story. A lot of Hollywood, uh, you know, only the priests in Christianity can help you, and there's no other way. And I don't know, it's like, it's silly. It's really silly the way that this story is painted, and I think it would be a much better story if they would have added more mental health stuff. But that stuff really wasn't studied well back in the day. And you were either considered crazy or you weren't. And in this case, this man was not considered crazy. He was considered to be tormented by evil spirits instead of just saying that he's a crazy, abusive person, and hurts the people around him. And I think that's the end of the article. Anyways, yeah, I'm probably just going to go try and edit all this now. This is going to be a fun little video to make. And I'll post the description, the link to Colin's video. Because it really is an interesting story.